My own daughter called me a worthless loser who didn't deserve to live in her house. I'm Angela Tate, and I've spent 30 years building something my daughter never bothered to understand. She demanded my $2.7 million beach house for her billionaire boyfriend, posted about it on Instagram for her 480,000 followers to see, and gave me 24 hours to pack my junk and get out. What she didn't know was that I didn't just own that house. I owned the one she thought was hers, too, and by sunrise both were gone. I didn't argue. I didn't shout. I just picked up my phone and made 3 calls. Because this story starts 3 decades ago when I made a promise to myself about the difference between giving someone everything and teaching them to value anything. That promise would cost my daughter more than she ever imagined. Most people look at me and see exactly what my daughter Brianna sees. A woman in her early 50s who drives a 14-year-old Honda Civic with faded silver paint and 175,000 miles on it. Someone who shops at Target for $15 blouses and brings $12 wine to dinner parties where everyone else drops $200. Brianna Tate Sterling, 28 years old, 480,000 Instagram followers, and absolutely convinced that her mother is an embarrassment. "Mom, you literally look homeless," she told me last month when I showed up to her birthday party. "Kyle's friends are going to think I come from nothing." Kyle Sterling, real estate dynasty heir, $190 million family empire, drives a $320,000 Bentley, and wears watches that cost more than most people's annual salary. The first sign I was losing my daughter happened 6 months ago. She started referring to my Malibu beach house as the family property in conversations, then my future inheritance, then just my house. "When Kyle and I get married, we'll obviously need the beach house," she announced over dinner. "You can move into something smaller. More appropriate." Appropriate. That word stuck with me. The second sign came when she posted an Instagram story from my living room. The caption read, "Dealing with family drama. Some people just don't understand their place anymore." The comments were brutal, her followers calling me a boomer mom who was holding back her success. One person wrote, "Girl, just take what's yours. Old people don't need beach houses." Brianna screenshotted the worst comments and sent them to me. See, even strangers get it. I never responded to those texts. I just saved them. What Brianna doesn't know is that I've been watching her Instagram stories for months. Watching her show off the penthouse apartment I pay $7,000 a month for, the $32,000 Chanel bag I bought for her graduation, the $89,000 Mercedes lease that comes out of my account every month. In her world, she earned all of it. I was just the lucky woman who inherited one house and somehow managed to keep paying for her lifestyle. My mom's kind of a fixer-upper person. I heard her tell Kyle's mother at a charity event last spring. Blue-collar background. She tries her best, but she doesn't really understand how things work in our social circle. Our social circle, as if she built the foundation she was standing on. Kyle found this charming. "It's so authentic," he told his friends within earshot of me. Brianna's keeping it real despite her advantages. Her advantages, the ones that apparently materialized out of thin air. But the breaking point wasn't the comments or the dismissal or even the entitlement. It was what happened 3 weeks ago when Brianna brought Kyle to the house for dinner. They walked in like they owned the place. Kyle immediately started measuring walls with his eyes, talking about maximizing the ocean view and updating the finishes. "The kitchen needs a complete gut renovation," Brianna agreed. "Maybe we can get started on plans while Mom's still here." "While I'm still here in my own house." "Mom," Brianna said as they were leaving, "Kyle and I have been talking. We're ready to take over the property management. You've done your part, but it's time for people who understand real estate to handle things." People who understand real estate. I nodded and said nothing. That night, Brianna had no idea what she'd just triggered. The text message came at 7:30 the next morning. "Mom, Kyle and I have decided. We need you out of the beach house by next Friday. We're having the locks changed and starting renovations. I've already called a realtor friend to help you find something more suitable for your budget. My budget. The budget. She thought she understood. I called her immediately. She answered on the fourth ring, sounding annoyed. Brianna, we need to talk about this. There's nothing to talk about. I'm 28 years old. I'm getting married, and I need to start building my life. You can't expect me to wait forever for you to make room. Make room in my own house. Mom, come on. You know what I mean. The house is family property. It should go to the next generation. Kyle's parents already offered to help with your moving expenses. Kyle's parents offering to help me move out of my own house. What if I said no? Brianna laughed. Actually laughed. Mom, be realistic. You can't afford to maintain a $2.7 million property on whatever savings you have. The property taxes alone are probably killing you. This is better for everyone. Whatever savings I have, property taxes that are probably killing me. Brianna, do you know how I afford that house? Inheritance, right? Grandma left it to you when she died. Look, I'm grateful for what you've provided, but I need to think about my future now. Kyle and I have actual plans. Actual plans as opposed to whatever I've been doing for the past 30 years. What happens if I refuse to leave? Mom, don't make this harder than it needs to be. Kyle's father knows property law. He says squatters' rights don't apply to family disputes, and since you never put the house in a trust or anything, we can work something out legally. Squatters' rights in my own house. I'll need to see these legal options in writing. Fine. Kyle's sending over some papers this afternoon. Just remember, we're trying to do this the nice way. Don't force us to get attorneys involved. She hung up. I sat in my kitchen looking out at the ocean through windows. I've watched the sun rise through for 15 years and realized my daughter genuinely believed she was doing me a favor. The papers arrived by courier at 2 p.m. Beautifully formatted letterhead from Sterling and Associates, Kyle's father's firm. The language was polite but clear. I had 30 days to transition ownership of the Malibu property to Brianna or face formal legal proceedings to resolve the inheritance dispute. Inheritance dispute for a house I bought with my own money. The letter included a detailed timeline. Week 1, pack personal belongings. Week 2, coordinate with Brianna's chosen realtor to find appropriate alternative housing. Week 3, finalize property transfer. Week 4, complete move out. They'd even calculated my estimated living expenses based on typical retirement income for someone of your professional background. The number was insulting. But what really got my attention was the final paragraph. We understand this transition may be emotionally difficult, but we're confident this arrangement serves everyone's long-term interests, including your own financial stability. My own financial stability. They were helping me avoid bankruptcy by taking my house. I read the letter 3 times, then walked to my office and opened the filing cabinet I haven't touched in months, the one Brianna's never seen inside. The documents were exactly where I left them. Coastal Properties Group Incorporation papers, property acquisition records, bank statements, Forbes article from 2 years ago titled The Silent Queens of California Real Estate. I spread everything across my desk and took pictures with my phone. Then I made a list of calls I needed to make. First call, Veronica Lewis, my attorney for 25 years. She picked up immediately. Angela, what's wrong? You sound different. Veronica, I need you to prepare some documents, and I need them fast. What kind of documents? The kind that teach my daughter the difference between inheritance and assumption. Veronica was quiet for a moment. How fast is fast? 24 hours. And Veronica, make sure everything's ironclad. This is going to get public. Second call. Derek Hamilton, VP of Operations at Coastal Properties Group. Angela, we weren't expecting to hear from you until next month's board meeting. Change of plans, Derek? I need you to expedite the Harrison Group deal. Both Malibu properties. Full asking price, cash only, close within 48 hours. 48 hours. Angela, that's aggressive but possible. I know it's possible because we've done it before. Make it happen. Third call, Dr. Sharon Mitchell, the family therapist Brianna and I saw briefly last year. Dr. Mitchell, it's Angela Tate. I need to schedule an emergency session for tomorrow morning, and I need you to document everything we discuss. By sunset, the machinery was in motion. Brianna had no idea what was coming. I spent that evening in my office going through files I hadn't looked at in years. The first property deed from 1994, a foreclosed duplex in Venice Beach. $40,000 down payment, every penny I'd saved from working 2 jobs while raising Brianna alone. Her father left when she was 2, said he wasn't cut out for family life, sent exactly 3 child support checks before disappearing completely. I'd raised Brianna on a paralegal's salary, living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Inglewood, sleeping on the couch so she could have the bedroom. Every spare dollar went into that duplex. I'd fixed it myself, learned plumbing from YouTube videos, painted every wall, replaced every fixture, rented both units within a month. The rental income covered the mortgage plus an extra $400. I took that $400 and saved it. 6 months later, I had enough for another down payment. A small house in Long Beach that needed work. Same strategy. Buy, fix, rent, save. Brianna was 7 when I bought the 3rd property, 10 when I bought the 5th, 15 when I incorporated Coastal Properties Group, 18 when the portfolio hit 50 properties. She never asked how I paid for her private school, never questioned the college fund that covered 4 years at USC, never wondered where the money came from for her study abroad semester in Paris. I'd kept my business quiet because I wanted Brianna to grow up normal, to understand that money came from work, not magic, to value effort over appearance. Instead, she'd learned to be ashamed of me. My phone buzzed with a text from Brianna. "Mom, did you get the papers? Kyle's dad needs an answer by Friday." I texted back, "I got them. We'll talk soon." Another buzz. "There's nothing to talk about. Just sign them. This doesn't have to be difficult." I set down the phone and pulled out a folder marked personal. Inside were photos of Brianna as a child. Her first day of kindergarten, wearing a dress I'd sewn myself because I couldn't afford the ones in stores. Her 10th birthday party at Chuck E. Cheese, the only party I could afford that year. Her high school graduation, wearing a designer dress she'd picked out, paid for with rental income from property number 32. In every photo, she was smiling, happy, loved. When had that changed? When had I become an embarrassment instead of her mother? I thought about the Instagram post from this morning, Brianna standing in my kitchen, coffee cup in hand, captioned "Moving forward with family property decisions." Some people need to learn when it's time to step aside. 400 comments, mostly supportive. "Yes, girl, take what's yours. Your mom had her turn. Time for the next generation." Not one comment asking if maybe, just maybe, Brianna should talk to me first. Not one person suggesting that taking someone's house might be wrong. My phone rang. "Veronica. Angela, I have the documents ready, but I need to ask you something." "What is it? Are you absolutely sure you want to do this?" Once we start, there's no going back. I looked at the photos spread across my desk. My daughter at every age, every milestone, the child I'd worked 3 jobs to support, the teenager I'd sacrificed everything to give opportunities I never had, the adult who now thought I was worthless. "I'm sure." Veronica sighed. "Then let's make sure your daughter learns this lesson properly. I'm sending over 3 sets of documents, 1 for the property transfers, 1 for the trust terminations, and 1 for the financial disclosure." The financial disclosure. That was the one that would hurt most. "Veronica, make sure the disclosure includes everything. Every property, every account, every investment. I want her to see exactly what she assumed didn't exist." "Angela, this is going to devastate her." "I know. But maybe that's what she needs, to be devastated by the truth, instead of comfortable in her assumptions." There was something else I needed to do. Something that would make this real in a way documents never could. I opened my laptop and logged into Coastal Properties Group's management portal. 195 properties spread across California, Oregon, Washington, and Nevada. Current portfolio value $78 million. Today's revenue $46,312. I took a screenshot and saved it to my phone. Then I opened Brianna's Instagram account and scrolled through her recent posts. Photos of the Mercedes I leased for her, the Chanel bag I bought, the penthouse I paid for. Every image tagged with brands, locations, lifestyle. Not one photo of me. Not one caption thanking the person who made it all possible. Just beautiful shots of a life Brianna had convinced herself she'd built alone. My phone buzzed again. Kyle this time. Mrs. Tate, I wanted to reach out personally. We really do have your best interests at heart. The beach house is too much responsibility for someone at your stage of life. Let us take this burden off your shoulders. My stage of life. As if 52 was ancient. As if I was incapable of managing my own property. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded his message to Veronica with a note. Add this to the file. Tomorrow was Friday. The dinner party was scheduled for 7 p.m. 20 guests, all from Kyle's social circle. All about to witness something they'd never forget. I had 24 hours to prepare for the moment my daughter learned the truth. The dinner party was Kyle's idea. A small gathering, he called it, just close friends and family to celebrate our engagement announcement. 21 people in my living room, drinking wine that costs more than my car payment, talking about real estate markets and charity galas, and vacation homes in Aspen. Brianna wore a $28,000 engagement ring Kyle had surprised her with that afternoon. She kept posting Instagram stories every 15 minutes, showing off the ring against the backdrop of our beach house in her captions. I arrived exactly on time, carrying a bottle of wine from the grocery store, $12.99. The cashier had given me a look when I bought it, like I was making some kind of mistake. Mom. Brianna rushed over, but I could see the panic in her eyes. You made it. Wouldn't miss it, I said, handing her the wine. Congratulations on your engagement. She took the bottle and immediately handed it to Kyle's mother, Catherine Sterling. Thank you so much. We'll just put this with the others. Catherine glanced at the label and smiled, the kind of smile rich people use when they're being polite about poor people things. How thoughtful. Kyle appeared at Brianna's shoulder, wearing a watch that probably cost more than most people make in a year. Angela, great to see you. Brianna's been telling everyone about the house transition. Very smooth process. House transition like it was already decided. Actually, I said, I haven't agreed to anything yet. The conversation around us got quieter. Not quiet enough for anyone to hear, but quiet enough that I knew people were listening. Brianna's face went tight. Mom, we talked about this. Kyle's father already sent the papers. I read the papers. I have some questions. Kyle stepped closer. What kind of questions? My father was very thorough. Legal questions about ownership and inheritance law. Catherine Sterling materialized beside us, holding a glass of wine that definitely didn't come from my bottle. Is there some kind of problem? Brianna looked mortified. No problem. Mom's just being cautious. Cautious about what? Catherine's voice had the tone rich people use when poor people aren't cooperating fast enough. About signing over property rights to a house I've owned for 15 years, I said. The room got noticeably quieter. Kyle laughed. Angela, I think there's been a misunderstanding. The house has been in Brianna's family for generations, right? This is just making the paperwork official. Actually, I said, I bought the house in 2009 with my own money. Brianna's face went red. Mom, stop. You're embarrassing yourself. How am I embarrassing myself by stating facts? Because everyone here knows about family inheritances, Catherine said smoothly. It's very common for people to feel attached to property even after it's time to pass it down. People to feel attached, like I was a tenant who'd overstayed my welcome. Mrs. Sterling, I said, what do you think this house is worth? Brianna mentioned $2.7 million, I believe. Lovely location. And what do you think my income is? Catherine looked uncomfortable. I really couldn't say. Take a guess. Based on how I dress, what I drive, where I shop, what do you think I make in a year? Brianna grabbed my arm. Mom, please stop. Because I'm curious, I continued, how everyone thinks I've been paying property taxes on a $2.7 million house for 15 years. The taxes alone are $38,000 annually. Kyle frowned. Brianna mentioned the inheritance-covered property expenses. What inheritance? I asked. The room was definitely listening now. Conversations had stopped. People were pretending to look at their phones while straining to hear. Brianna's voice got sharp. Mom, you're making a scene. I'm asking questions about my own house that I bought with money I earned. What money? Kyle's voice had an edge now. Angela, no offense, but Brianna mentioned you're basically retired. Property maintenance, insurance, utilities. Where's that money coming from? Where's that money coming from? The question everyone was thinking, but Kyle was rude enough to ask. That's a very good question, I said. Brianna, why don't you tell Kyle where you think the money comes from? Brianna looked trapped. Mom. You know we don't need to get into your personal finances at a party. Actually, I think we do. Since Kyle's father is so concerned about my financial stability, and since you've told everyone this house needs to go to people who understand real estate, it seems pretty relevant. Catherine set down her wine glass. Perhaps this conversation would be better privately. Would it? Because Kyle seems very confident about property law, and Brianna's already announced our house transition to 480,000 Instagram followers. Seems pretty public to me. Brianna's face went white. Mom, what are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and showed her the screenshot I'd taken that morning. Her Instagram story from my living room posted at 6:15 a.m. Moving forward with family property decisions. Some people need to learn when it's time to step aside. The post had gotten 8,000 comments in 6 hours. Most of them variations of yes girl, take what's yours, and old people need to make room for the next generation. Brianna, I said quietly, you posted this from my kitchen this morning. She stared at the phone. The room was completely silent now. I was excited about our future in my house. Kyle cleared his throat. Angela, maybe we should table this discussion. Why? You seemed very confident about inheritance law 5 minutes ago. I looked around the room. 21 people watching my daughter realize she'd made a very public mistake. I think, I said, it's time everyone understood exactly what kind of inheritance we're talking about. I walked to my office and came back with a folder. Brianna watched me like I was carrying a bomb. Mom, what are you doing? What I should have done months ago. The phone call I made next would change everything. I dialed Veronica Lewis's number right there in front of everyone. She answered on the second ring. Veronica, it's Angela. I need you to walk me through something in front of witnesses. Brianna looked like she was going to be sick. Mom, hang up the phone. Veronica, if someone bought a property with their own money 15 years ago and their adult child started claiming inheritance rights to that property, what would you call that? Veronica's voice came through clear enough for people nearby to hear. I'd call it a potential fraud case depending on the circumstances. Catherine Sterling stepped forward. Angela, I really think we should discuss this privately. Mrs. Sterling, your son and my daughter announced their plans to take my house to a room full of people and 480,000 social media followers. I think the privacy ship sailed. Veronica, I continued, what if that same person had their boyfriend's father draw up legal papers threatening the actual owner with formal proceedings if they didn't voluntarily surrender the property? Angela, that would depend on the specific language, but it could constitute attempted extortion. Kyle went pale. Now wait just a minute. And Veronica, what if the actual owner had documentation proving not only their purchase of the disputed property, but ownership of multiple additional properties the claimant doesn't even know exist? The room went dead silent. Veronica's voice got interested. Angela, are we talking about the Coastal Properties Group portfolio? Coastal Properties Group? The name hit the room like a dropped glass. Brianna stared at me. What's Coastal Properties Group? Veronica, can you explain to everyone what Coastal Properties Group is? Coastal Properties Group is a luxury property management company founded 30 years ago. They own and operate over 190 premium rental properties across 5 states. Current portfolio value is approximately $78 million. Kyle's mouth opened and closed like a fish. And Veronica, who founded Coastal Properties Group? You did, Angela. You're the founding CEO. I hung up the phone. The silence in the room was so complete, I could hear the ocean outside. Brianna's voice came out as a whisper. That's not possible. Which part isn't possible? You drive a 14-year-old Honda. You shop at Target. You brought $12 wine to my engagement party. I also own the building where Kyle's father has his law office. Kyle made a choking sound. And the office building where Catherine's interior design firm is located. Catherine Sterling looked like she'd seen a ghost. And the hotel where you and Kyle had your first date. The Seaside Grand property, number 53 in the Coastal Properties portfolio. Brianna sat down hard on the couch. This isn't real. I opened the folder I'd brought from my office. Bank statements from Pacific Trust Bank. As of yesterday, liquid assets total $78.4 million. I pulled out another document, Forbes magazine, September 2022 issue. America's Invisible Real Estate Queens. There's my photo on page 47. They called me the Phantom of California Property. Brianna grabbed the magazine. Her hands were shaking. Property acquisition records for the past 15 years. 195 properties purchased, renovated, and converted to luxury rentals. Average return on investment 28% annually. I pulled out my phone and opened an app. This is the Coastal Properties Group Management Dashboard. Real-time occupancy rates, revenue tracking, maintenance schedules, today's gross revenue. I scrolled down. $46,312. That's impossible, Kyle said. You work in property management. I own property management, Brianna. I buy undervalued properties and turn them into profitable businesses. Brianna, remember when you asked where the money comes from to pay property taxes on this house? She nodded numbly. This house generates $11,000 a month in rental income when you're not here, which is most of the time. Brianna stared at me. Rental income? The guest cottage behind the house? The one you use for your Instagram photo shoots? That's a separate unit. Rents for $3,500 a month. Your photographer friend Naomi has been staying there all summer. She pays through the Coastal Properties booking system. Naomi payera? Naomi pays premium rates. Ocean view, private beach access, proximity to celebrity properties, very popular with content creators. Kyle found his voice. If this is true, why do you live like what? Like someone who doesn't need to prove her worth with expensive cars and designer clothes? Catherine Sterling was reading the Forbes article over Brianna's shoulder. Angela Tate, founder and CEO of Coastal Properties Group, estimated net worth $78 million. Known for her low-profile lifestyle and hands-on management approach. She looked up at me. You're the Phantom of California Property. I prefer Angela. But yes. Brianna was staring at the bank statements. Mom, why didn't you tell me? Because you never asked. You assumed. You saw an old car and Target clothes and decided you knew everything about my financial situation. But I'm your daughter. I should have known. Should you? Brianna, when's the last time you asked me about my work, my day, my plans, my anything? She opened her mouth, then closed it. I'll wait. The room waited with me. 21 people watching my daughter realized she didn't know anything about her mother's life. Finally, she whispered, I don't remember. Neither do I said. Kyle's phone started buzzing. He looked at it and his face went gray. My father's calling. He just saw Brianna's last Instagram story. People are already commenting about what they're hearing from the party. Brianna grabbed her phone. The Instagram story she'd posted 20 minutes ago, showing off her ring, with the caption celebrating our future in our dream home, now had over 300 comments. But they weren't congratulations anymore. Wait, is that her mom's house? Someone wrote. Did she just admit to stealing her mom's property? Another asked. This is about to get messy, a third predicted. Brianna looked at me with panic in her eyes. Mom, people are asking questions. Good, I said. Maybe now you'll learn what happens when you make private family matters public for social media clout. Catherine Sterling set down her wine glass. I think Richard and I should leave. I think that's wise, I agreed. And Mrs. Sterling, you might want to start looking for a new office space. Your lease is up for renewal next month. I'm not sure I'll be extending it. Catherine went pale. You can't do that. Actually, I can. It's my building. The guests started leaving within 15 minutes. No one wanted to be there for whatever came next. By 8:30, only Brianna and Kyle remained, both of them looking like they'd been hit by a truck. Brianna sat on the couch, still staring at the Forbes article like it was written in a foreign language. Kyle stood by the window, his phone buzzing nonstop with calls he wasn't answering. Mom, Brianna finally said, her voice small. How long have you been planning this? Planning what? To own a successful business? About 30 years. To let you humiliate yourself publicly? That was your choice. Not mine. But you let us think you were poor. I never said I was poor. You assumed it. There's a difference. Kyle turned from the window. Angela, this is entrapment. You deliberately deceived us. Did I? Tell me, Kyle. When did I lie to you? You never told us about your business. You never asked. In fact, you assumed I was too incompetent to manage my own property. Your father sent me legal papers threatening formal proceedings if I didn't hand over my own house. Those papers were meant to help, Kyle said weakly. Help who? Certainly not me. They were meant to intimidate someone you thought was powerless. Brianna stood up suddenly. Mom, I need to understand something. If you've had this much money all along, why did you let me think we were struggling? We were never struggling, Brianna. You just thought we were because I didn't buy you everything you wanted immediately. You made me wear thrift store clothes in middle school. I made you understand the value of money, and for the record, half those thrift store clothes were designer pieces I'd found for 90% off. You just couldn't see past the stigma of secondhand. Brianna's phone buzzed. She looked at it, and her face crumbled. Taylor just texted. She says my Instagram is blowing up. People are calling me a spoiled brat who tried to steal from her own mother. Kyle checked his phone. My father wants to know if there's any way to contain this. He's worried about the family reputation. I walked to my office and came back with another folder. This one was thicker. Inside were printouts of every Instagram post Brianna had made in the past 6 months, about the house, about my supposed financial struggles, about how she deserved better. Brianna, you made this public. You posted about family property decisions to nearly 500,000 people. You invited them into our private business. Now they're watching it unfold. I didn't think Brianna started crying. I didn't think it would go like this. What did you think would happen? That I'd just quietly disappear? Sign over my house and move into some apartment while you and Kyle played Lord and Lady of the Manor? We wanted to take care of you, Kyle said. By taking my property? That's not taking care of someone. That's taking advantage. Brianna wiped her eyes. Mom, what happens now? Now you learn what your choices cost. I pulled out my phone and opened my text messages. Derek Hamilton sent me confirmation an hour ago. Both properties sold. Brianna's head snapped up. What do you mean sold? I mean I sold this house and the apartment building you live in. Both went to Harrison Development Group. Cash deals. Closed this evening. You sold my apartment building? Brianna's voice rose to a shriek. I sold my apartment building, the one I bought 3 years ago, the one you've been living in rent-free because I owned it. Kyle's face went white. Harrison Development Group? Angela, that's my family's biggest competitor. I know. They offered full asking price with a 48-hour close. Business is business. My father is going to lose his mind, Kyle said. We've been trying to acquire those properties for years. Then perhaps your father should have made better offers. Or better yet, treated the owner with respect instead of sending threatening legal papers. Brianna stood up so fast, she knocked over her wine glass. Mom, where am I supposed to live? The lease on my apartment Harrison is converting the building to luxury condos. All tenants have 60 days to relocate. 60 days? Brianna looked panicked. But I don't have any money saved. You pay for everything. I used to pay for everything. Past tense. What does that mean? I pulled out another document. Brianna Tate monthly allowance account. As of tonight, this account is closed. No more $11,500 a month. No more automatic payments for your rent, your car, your credit cards, your lifestyle. Mom, you can't just cut me off completely. Can't I? You're 28 years old. You have a college degree I paid for. You have skills and abilities. It's time you learn to use them. Kyle's phone rang again. He answered it this time, stepping into the kitchen. I could hear his father's voice through the phone, angry and demanding. Brianna sat back down, her hands shaking. Mom, this is crazy. You're destroying my entire life over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Brianna, you tried to steal my house. You posted about it publicly. You told nearly 500,000 people that I was too old and too poor to deserve my own property. That's not a misunderstanding. That's who you chose to be. I didn't mean it like that. How did you mean it? When you posted that I needed to learn when to step aside, what did you mean? Brianna couldn't answer. Kyle came back from the kitchen, his face ashen. Angela, my father wants to speak with you. He thinks we can work out some kind of arrangement. I took his phone. Mr. Sterling. This is Angela Tate. Richard Sterling's voice was controlled but tight. Miss Tate, I think there's been a significant miscommunication here. Perhaps if we could meet privately, we could resolve this situation to everyone's satisfaction. Mr. Sterling, I've already resolved the situation. I sold my properties to buyers who appreciated their value. That's how business works. You deliberately sold to our competitors to spite my family. I sold to the highest bidders who could close quickly. If that hurts your business, perhaps you should reconsider how you treat property owners in the future. Miss Tate, my son is engaged to your daughter. We're going to be family. Are you? Because from where I'm standing, your son just watched your family try to legally steal my house. That's not how I define family. I hung up and handed the phone back to Kyle. Brianna was crying now, mascara running down her face. Mom, please, can we just talk about this? We are talking about it. Right now. In front of fewer people than you invited to witness my humiliation, but still publicly enough that you understand actions have consequences. Kyle's phone buzzed with another text. He looked at it, and his expression changed from shock to something darker. Angela, you need to see this. He turned his phone around. A gossip blog had already posted about the dinner party. Real estate heiress caught trying to steal mom's house. Secret millionaire mother strikes back. Someone at the party had leaked the story. Brianna grabbed the phone and scrolled through the article. They have quotes. Someone told them everything that happened here tonight. Kyle looked around the empty room like he could identify the traitor. One of our guests talked to the press. Or maybe, I said, they just posted about it on their own social media and the press picked it up. That's how these things work now, isn't it, Brianna? Everything is content. Brianna's phone started ringing. She looked at the screen and declined the call. That's the third reporter in 10 minutes. Kyle sat down heavily. This is going to be everywhere by morning. My father's law firm, my family's reputation, our engagement. He stopped and looked at Brianna. The engagement. Brianna's face went pale. Kyle, what are you saying? I'm saying my parents are going to expect me to distance myself from this situation. From you. You're breaking up with me? Now? Kyle stood up and started pacing. Brianna, you told the world you were stealing your mother's house. My father threatened a woman worth $78 million with legal action. Do you understand what this does to my family's credibility in real estate? This isn't about real estate, Brianna said. This is about us. Is it? Because right now it feels like it's about the fact that you and I tried to con someone who turned out to be significantly more powerful than my entire family. I watched my daughter's world collapse in real time. Part of me wanted to step in, to soften the blow. But that instinct, that need to protect her from consequences, was exactly what had created this situation. Kyle pulled off the engagement ring from his own finger and set it on the coffee table. I need time to think. Away from all of this. Kyle, please. Brianna reached for him, but he stepped back. I'll have someone pick up my things from your apartment, your former apartment. He left without another word. The sound of the door closing echoed through the house. Brianna stared at the engagement ring on the table. In the span of 2 hours, she'd lost her boyfriend, her home, her financial support, and her reputation. Mom, she whispered, what have you done? What have I done? Brianna, I didn't post on Instagram about stealing my own mother's house. I didn't send legal threats to a property owner. I didn't assume someone was worthless based on their car and clothes. I simply stopped protecting you from the consequences of your own choices. But you destroyed everything. I didn't destroy anything. You built a life on assumptions and entitlement. I just removed the foundation you thought was there. Brianna's phone buzzed again. She looked at it and started crying harder. Revolve just canceled my brand partnership. That's $15,000 a year. Atlantic Greens terminated their contract too. And Daniel Wellington. Mom, I'm losing everything. Now you know how it feels. How what feels. To have someone take away what you thought was yours. To watch your security disappear. To realize the life you built wasn't actually built by you at all. Brianna looked up at me with red, swollen eyes. You did this to teach me a lesson? I did this to show you the truth. Everything you thought you had, everything you thought you deserved, came from someone you treated with contempt. The mother you were ashamed of, the woman you called worthless, the person you thought was too stupid to understand real estate. That person built everything you've been living on. Brianna put her head in her hands. I don't know what to do. That's the point. You've never had to figure things out because I always fix them for you. I paid for your mistakes, your impulses, your lifestyle, and you never even said thank you. I said thank you. When? When was the last time you thanked me for anything? Brianna was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, I don't remember. Neither do I. I sat down across from her. Brianna, do you know why I never told you about the business? Because you wanted to trap me? Because I wanted you to value things for what they were, not what they cost. I wanted you to appreciate effort and work and sacrifice. But somewhere along the way, you learned to value appearance over substance. You learned to be ashamed of anything that looked ordinary. You made me feel poor. You were never poor. You had everything you needed and most of what you wanted. What you didn't have was unlimited access to things you hadn't earned, and that felt like poverty to you. Brianna wiped her eyes. What am I supposed to do now? I have 60 days to move out. No income, no savings. Kyle's gone. My brand partnerships are canceling. Everyone on Instagram thinks I'm a terrible person. Are you? What? Are you a terrible person? Or are you a person who did something terrible and now has a choice about who to become next? Brianna looked at me with something that might have been hope. Can I become someone different? That's entirely up to you, but you can't do it in the life I've been funding. That life is over. So, I'm just supposed to start from nothing? Not nothing. You have a degree from USC. You have skills in marketing and social media. You have contacts and connections. What you don't have anymore is my money protecting you from having to use any of those things. Brianna's phone buzzed again. She looked at it and laughed bitterly. Jasmine wants to know if the rumors are true. If my mom really is worth $78 million and I really tried to steal her house. What are you going to tell her? The truth, I guess. What else is there? The truth would be a good start. Brianna stood up slowly. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you hate me? I looked at my daughter, 28 years old, crying in a house she'd tried to take from me, losing everything she'd thought defined her. No, Brianna, I don't hate you. I'm just done enabling you. There's a difference. She nodded and started walking toward the door. Then she stopped and turned back. Mom, I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I need you to know. I'm sorry for what I said, for what I tried to do, for how I treated you. I know. Do you forgive me? I will. When you've learned what you need to learn, when you've become someone who understands why forgiveness needs to be earned. 3 weeks later, I was sitting in my temporary rental, a modest 2-bedroom condo in Santa Monica, when my phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, but I answered anyway. Mom? It's me. Brianna's voice sounded different, smaller, tired. How are you? I got a job. At a coffee shop in Venice Beach. It's minimum wage, but they're letting me work full-time. I start training tomorrow. That's good. There was a long pause. Mom, can we meet? I need to talk to you about something. Not on the phone. In person. When? Today, if you're free. I'm off work at 3. Text me the address. I'll be there. She sent me the location of a small cafe near the beach. Not the trendy influencer spots she used to frequent, but a local place with chipped paint and mismatched furniture. The kind of place she would have been embarrassed to post about a month ago. I arrived at 3:15. Brianna was already there, sitting at a corner table with 2 cups of coffee. She was wearing jeans I didn't recognize, bargain brands, not designer, and a plain white t-shirt. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. No professional styling, no expensive products making it shine for Instagram. She looked like a normal 28-year-old. She looked like my daughter. Mom. She stood up when she saw me. Thank you for coming. Of course. We sat down. The coffee was cheap, probably $1 a cup. Brianna pushed one toward me. I've been thinking a lot these past few weeks, she said. About everything that happened. About who I was, who I became. And I was terrible. Not just to you, but to myself. I built this entire identity around things I didn't earn, didn't deserve, didn't even really want. I became someone I don't recognize. I sipped the coffee. It was awful, but I didn't say anything. I lost everything, Mom. Kyle won't return my calls. My Instagram following dropped to 312,000. All my brand partnerships are gone. I had to sell the Mercedes back to the dealer. I'm living in a studio apartment in Culver City that costs $1,800 a month, which is more than half my paycheck. She paused, and it's the first time in my adult life that I've felt like I'm actually living my own life. I set down my coffee. What do you mean? I mean, for the past 10 years, I've been performing. Every outfit, every photo, every caption, every relationship, it was all curated for an audience that didn't actually know me. I didn't even know me. Brianna pulled out her phone and opened Instagram. Look at my old posts. Every single one is about luxury, status, things I owned or wanted to own. There's nothing about who I actually am as a person. She scrolled through months of content. Designer bags, expensive restaurants, vacation destinations, the Range Rover, the penthouse, the engagement ring. Thousands of photos documenting a life that looked perfect. There's not a single photo of you, Mom. Not one. Because I was ashamed of you. Because you didn't fit the aesthetic I was selling. I didn't know what to say. I erased you from my life because you reminded people that I came from somewhere normal. That I wasn't born into wealth and privilege. That everything I had was given to me by someone I didn't respect. Brianna closed the app, so I deleted it. 2 days ago. Just deleted the entire account. 312,000 followers gone. 10 years of content gone. And you know what? It feels like I can breathe for the first time. You deleted your Instagram? I couldn't be that person anymore. Every time I looked at my feed, I saw someone who tried to steal her mother's house for social media content. I couldn't live with that person looking back at me. I reached across the table and took her hand. Brianna, that took courage. It took hitting rock bottom. She smiled, but it was sad. Mom, I need to tell you something else. I've been going to therapy. Dr. Mitchell. I started seeing her again after everything happened. How's that going? Hard. Really hard. She's making me look at patterns I've been avoiding my whole life. How I used your money to avoid ever having to prove myself. How I confused having things with having worth. How I treated you like an ATM instead of a person. That must be difficult to hear. It is, but it's true, and I'm tired of running from true things. A young couple came into the cafe, laughing and holding hands. They looked happy in a way that had nothing to do with what they were wearing or driving or posting online. Brianna watched them. That used to make me feel superior. Seeing people in normal clothes, doing normal things, living normal lives, I'd think, I'm so glad I'm not like them. I'm special. I'm different. And now I realize they probably have something I never did. They probably earned what they have. They probably know who they are without a filter or a caption or an audience validating them. The barista called out an order. The coffee shop was filling up with the after-work crowd. People in scrubs, construction clothes, business casual. People who worked for their money. Mom, Brianna said, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Okay. When you let me try to take the house, when you let me humiliate myself in front of all those people, when you sold everything and cut me off completely, were you trying to destroy me or save me? I thought about that question. About the past 3 weeks watching my daughter's Instagram posts disappear, her followers abandon her perfect life crumble. About the fear that I'd pushed too hard, broken something that couldn't be fixed. I was trying to wake you up, I said finally. I didn't know if it would save you or destroy you. I just knew that the person you were becoming was already destroyed. You just couldn't see it yet. Brianna nodded slowly. I think I'm starting to see it now. What do you see? That you gave me everything except the one thing I actually needed. The chance to fail, to struggle, to figure out who I was without your money protecting me from ever having to answer that question. And who are you? I don't know yet, but I'm working on finding out. She pulled a folded piece of paper from her pocket. I wrote something, an apology, a real one, not just sorry you're upset, but an actual accounting of what I did wrong and why. Can I read it? She handed it to me. The paper was worn, like she'd folded and unfolded it many times. I unfolded the paper. Brianna's handwriting covered both sides, neat and careful, not typed on a phone or computer, but written by hand, like the words mattered enough to slow down for. Mom, it began, I tried to steal your house because I thought I deserved it more than you did. I thought you were a failure who got lucky, and I was a success who got cheated. I was wrong about everything. I kept reading. She'd written about every assumption, every insult, every moment she'd treated me like I was worthless. The Instagram posts, the comments to Kyle's family, the legal threats. All of it documented in her own words. No excuses, no justifications. I spent 28 years taking everything you gave me and never once asking what it cost you. Not just money, time, energy, choices you didn't make because you were busy taking care of me. I never said thank you because I thought you owed me everything. My eyes stung, but I kept reading. I learned something these past 3 weeks. I learned that I don't know how to do anything. I can't budget money because I never had to think about money. I can't solve problems because you always solve them for me. I can't define myself because my entire identity was built on things you gave me that I pretended I earned. The last paragraph was the hardest to read. I'm not asking you to take me back. I'm not asking for money or help or anything else. I'm asking for a chance to learn how to be someone you could be proud of. Not because of what I have or what I post or who I'm engaged to, but because of who I actually am when nobody's paying my way. I folded the paper carefully and handed it back to her. Brianna, this is honest. That's more than I expected. It's all I have left. Honesty. I can't afford filters anymore. In any sense. I smiled despite myself. How's the coffee shop job? Exhausting. I work 6-hour shifts and my feet hurt, and I smell like espresso all the time. Yesterday, someone yelled at me because their latte had too much foam. Last week, I accidentally charged someone $47 for a $3 coffee and had to call my manager to fix it. But it's mine. I earned every dollar of my first paycheck. It was $862 after taxes, and I've never been more proud of money in my entire life. What did you do with it? Paid rent, bought groceries, put $50 in savings. I have $50 in my savings account, Mom. 50. And I actually feel wealthier than I did when I had unlimited access to your credit cards. Because you earned it. Because I earned it. A text came through on my phone, Derek Hamilton from Coastal Properties. I glanced at it and Brianna noticed. Work? Always. She hesitated. Mom, can I ask what you're going to do with the money from selling the properties? What do you think I should do with it? I think, she said slowly, you should do whatever makes you happy. Not what makes me comfortable, or what fixes my mistakes, or what proves a point. Just what makes you happy. I looked at my daughter. 3 weeks ago, she would have been calculating how much of that money she could get access to. Now she was telling me to use it for myself. I'm buying a new house, smaller than the beach house, in Pasadena. 3 bedrooms, a garden, close to good coffee shops and bookstores. Somewhere I can live simply without anyone assuming I'm poor. That sounds perfect. And I'm starting a foundation. For women who want to start businesses but don't have access to capital, everything I learned building Coastal Properties, I want to teach other women how to do it. Brianna smiled. Mom, that's incredible. I've spent 30 years building wealth in private. Maybe it's time to be more public about it. Not to show off, but to show that it's possible. Like the Forbes article? More than the Forbes article, I want to mentor women, really mentor them, not just give them money and hope for the best, but teach them what I wish someone had taught me. Brianna was quiet for a moment. Mom, do you think someday I could be one of those women? Not now. I'm nowhere near ready. But someday, when I've figured out who I am and what I'm good at, could you teach me how to build something real? I reached across the table and squeezed her hand. Brianna, I've been waiting 28 years for you to ask me that question. Really? Really? I never wanted to hand you an empire. I wanted to teach you how to build one. But you had to want to learn first. I want to learn now. Then we'll start. Slowly, when you're ready. After you've spent time figuring out who you are without my money defining you. Brianna nodded. I need to do this on my own first. Prove to myself that I can survive without your safety net. How's that going? Some days are harder than others. Last week I had $11 until payday, and I had to choose between laundry and lunch. I chose laundry because my work uniform was dirty. I ate instant ramen for 3 days. And it was awful. But I survived it. I figured it out. And now I know I can. My phone rang. Veronica Lewis. I glanced at Brianna. I need to take this. Of course, I answered. Veronica, what's happening? Angela, we need to talk about the Sterling situation. Richard Sterling is trying to file a complaint with the state bar. He's claiming you manipulated the property sale to intentionally damage his business interests. Can he do that? He can try. But he won't succeed. We have documentation of everything. His threatening letters, his son's attempts to coerce you, Brianna's public posts about taking your property. If anything, he's opened himself up to an ethics investigation. I looked at Brianna, who was watching me with concern. Veronica, let him file whatever he wants. I'm not interested in a legal war with the Sterling family. You might not have a choice. Richard is vindictive. He doesn't like losing, especially not to someone he underestimated. Then he should have estimated better. I hung up and turned back to Brianna. Kyle's father is threatening legal action. Her face went pale. Because of me. Because of what I did. Because of what he did. He sent threatening letters to a property owner. That's on him, not you. But if I hadn't tried to take the house, none of this would have happened. True, but that doesn't make you responsible for how the Sterling family chooses to respond now. You own your mistakes, Brianna, not theirs. She nodded, but I could see the guilt in her eyes. Brianna, do you still love Kyle? She thought about it, longer than I expected her to. I don't know. I think I loved the idea of Kyle, the security, the status, the life he represented. But did I love him as a person? I don't think I ever really knew him well enough to answer that question. Have you heard from him? No. His mother called once to say they were moving forward with their lives and suggested I do the same. Very polite. Very final. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's probably for the best. We were building a relationship on foundations that didn't exist, just like everything else in my life. 6 months later, I stood in my new house in Pasadena, watching Brianna help me hang pictures in the living room. She'd lost more weight, the stress kind at first, but now the healthy kind from walking everywhere because she still couldn't afford a car. Higher on the left, I said. She adjusted the frame. Like this? Perfect. It was a photo from her college graduation, both of us smiling, her in her cap and gown, me in a simple dress from Target. I'd kept it in a drawer for years because she never wanted it displayed, said it didn't fit her aesthetic. Mom, she said, stepping back to look at it, I was so cruel to you. You were lost. There's a difference. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and smiled. That's my boss. He's asking if I can pick up an extra shift this weekend. Are you going to? Probably. I'm saving for community college classes. I want to study business management. Actually learn how to do what you do, not just pretend I already know. I pulled out an envelope from my desk drawer. I have something for you. She took it carefully, like it might explode. What is this? Open it. Inside was a check for $862, the exact amount of her first paycheck from the coffee shop. Mom, I don't understand. I kept your first paycheck, the one you were so proud of. I'm giving it back to you as seed money, not for rent or bills or surviving. For investing, for starting something that's yours. Brianna stared at the check, tears forming in her eyes. You kept it? I kept it because that was the day you started becoming someone real, someone who earned things, someone I could be proud of, not because of what you had, but because of who you were becoming. She hugged me then, really hugged me, for the first time in years. Thank you, Mom, for everything, even the hard parts. Especially the hard parts. When she left that evening, I watched her walk to the bus stop. No Mercedes, no designer clothes, no Instagram followers documenting her every move. Just my daughter, 28 years old, finally learning to stand on her own. My phone buzzed with a notification. A wire transfer from Harrison Development Group. Final payment for the property sales. $13.2 million. I opened my laptop and transferred half of it to the foundation I'd created. The Angela Tate Business Initiative for Women. In 6 months, we'd funded 12 small businesses. 12 women who reminded me of myself at 25, working 2 jobs, dreaming of something more. The other half I kept for myself, not to buy things or prove anything, but because I'd earned it. 30 years of work, sacrifice, and careful decisions. I looked around my new house. It was smaller than the beach house, simpler, quieter, but it was mine on my own terms. Not because I was hiding my wealth, but because this was what I actually wanted. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the chance to lose everything they thought they deserved, to fall hard enough that they have to learn who they really are when the safety nets are gone. Brianna was learning. Slowly, painfully, but learning. And that was worth more than any house, any bank account, any empire I could have handed her. Some things you can't give. They have to be earned. That is Angela's story. A 52-year-old black woman. A self-made CEO who built a $78 million real estate empire from a $40,000 down payment. Who drove a 14-year-old Honda while owning 195 properties. Who watched her daughter post to 480,000 followers about stealing her house. And when they sent legal papers giving her 30 days to surrender her own property, she made 3 phone calls that sold everything in 48 hours and taught her daughter the difference between inheritance and entitlement. Where are you listening from right now? What city? What state? What country? Drop it in the comments. I love seeing how far these stories reach across the world. Hit that like button if this story resonated with you. Share it if you know someone who built something from nothing while everyone underestimated them, who lived below their means while others assumed they were struggling, who chose teaching over enabling even when it hurt. Subscribe because I have more stories about people who turned assumptions into lessons, who proved that wealth whispers while poverty shouts, and who showed that the hardest part of parenting is letting your children fail. Thanks for listening. Remember, never underestimate a woman who shops at Target but owns the building where you work. She knows exactly what you're worth, what you assume, and what you're about to learn. See you in the next story.